Today I am joined by Karen Carney, MBE, and we're going to talk everything health, fitness, football and more. So Karen, can you tell me what have been the best moments in your career so far?
Playing for your country, obviously playing for England.
Nothing major, just...
2012 Olympic Games was pretty special, home Olympics, and being in that, and I always wanted to be an Olympian, and I didn't think we'd be able to make it happen, but we did, and we got a team there, which was awesome. So that was, like I said, for it to be in London as well was special.
How did that feel, walking out on a pitch in London for the Olympics?
It was just the whole thing, like when you put on the Team GB tracksuit and when you kind of, like the love that everyone gave you, it was, I think if we all go back to that moment, people will remember where they was on that Saturday that was so iconic. And, you know, the opening ceremony, the closing ceremony, I was absolutely devastated it was over. Like, I was nearly in tears. And just being in the Olympic Village and seeing so many athletes, being a part of so many sports, going and watching other sports was also really inspiring. But like I said, representing Team GB, we all got a dog tag.
A dog tag?
Yeah, with a number on. I think mine's 319, I think, out of 500 and something people that represented Great Britain out of, at the time in 2012, it was 65 million people. So that number and the amount of 500 and so athletes that competed in the Olympics, and I was number 319, is incredible. And it's something, you know, if I'm ever lucky to have kids or grandkids, I think that'll be a really important piece of jewellery that I'll give to them.
That would be amazing. What was it like being in the Olympic Village? Because obviously you're always going to be surrounded by footballers naturally.
Yeah.
But what was the atmosphere being surrounded by other athletes? Like, what was that? I can only imagine that motivation must have been insane.
Yeah, I mean, like walking around and, like I said, seeing so many athletes and even being a bit starstruck by, you know, quite a few. It's incredible in how you see their discipline and, you know, what they're up to, how they conduct themselves around and preparation. And, you know, one of the biggest things is like the eating area.
Okay.
Because you can think there's like so many thousands of people at the village. Everyone's starving. Athletes are constantly hungry. And it's just like so chaotic. And we had like a lot of preparation on, you know, how to kind of stay off your feet, because you can be in the village and it's so exciting. You kind of want to walk around, you want to like take everything in, speak everything. You're like, you need to be off your feet now. You're like competing in the game. So, but it was all part of I think that's part of being it. But, you know, playing the games, being involved with it, wearing the badge. For me, it was something I dreamed of as a little girl, because from a football's background, I only ever saw men's football, and I only ever really saw the Olympics and Paralympics. So, and Paralympic sport has massively been given its arena, which is incredible. But I think historically growing up, it was men's football, and you kind of look to Olympic sports. So then, you know, being a part of that was incredible. But obviously that Olympic journey for us, though, was a massive catalyst for women's football.
Absolutely.
We played at Wembley for the first time, and we got, I think, 70,000 people at that Team GB Brazil game. And that for me was like, yeah, we can generate crowds. We know we can.
And it paved the way.
I think so. I think that was a massive catalyst. There's obviously been a lot of big moments in women's football, but I think that was a real one to say, people watch women's sports and particularly watch women's football, and we've got to get going with this journey now.
So off of the back of that, I think you guys are on the cusp of it absolutely paving the way, breaking out. What would you say your biggest challenges were in that time?
The biggest challenges? I think we've had a lot. But that's a really, really good question, actually. I think getting the media attention, getting the eyeballs on the sport, getting the funding, because the funding then allows us all to be better athletes. And
you should put your time into it. Yeah,
exactly. So, you know, it's come such a long way. And I think the current Lioness group, you know, winning in 2022, you know, the spotlight was on the team, and wow, did they step up and delivered. And that's amazing. And hopefully now, again, that's another, you know, I think 2012 was obviously a catalyst, and we've had big catalyst moments, but I think nothing has been ever, and nothing will. They've won a European Championship. as monumentous as that moment. But hopefully now we don't keep talking about barriers, we keep talking about the growth and where it's going to go and the opportunities to look forward to and career paths as well. Like everything we now want to turn the sport, maybe when I played, was a bit of a vicious cycle into a virtuous one now for everybody to be a part of it. So yeah, it's exciting.
And the future of women's football, how's women's football evolved over the years, and kind of what positive changes do you see happening now?
I think that one of the best things for me is, I want to sit on my hands because I'm moving them around too much. One of the best things for me is actually, I get goosebumps when I see a little girl wearing a football kit down the street. And I say that in a way that I was bullied for that. And
really?
Yeah, like it's a bit weird, isn't it? You know, a little girl wearing a football kit down the street. But mum and dad were cool about it. They were like, we'll get you a kit. But now to see like a little girl just go down or play with football, walking a ball in her hand with her brother or her dad or her mum or whoever it might be, and it's normalised it.
Yep.
So I think the biggest thing for me is like normalising that little girls can play and should play. Of course, we've got a lot more to do. I think we still need to keep pushing the equal access and keep creating role models that little girl as someone to look up to, that they can play. But I think the whole perception of girls and women playing football has massively shifted. But I also think for women's sports.
Yeah.
So it's something that I'm really proud of, and I mention it a lot. I've got a niece and I always want her to have so many opportunities. I want her to have no barriers, and I want her to just embrace life and to be able to do what she wants to do with no one ever telling her that she can't or why is she doing that.
I think that's a great thing, especially with kids, isn't it? Because kids in general, they just don't have those barriers anyway. They go through life like anything's possible. And I think especially for young women, those barriers are then placed on us because actually, no, if you this isn't for you. So I think that's actually an incredible thing to say, because why should they have these barriers put on them? And that the game is absolutely changing that.
Yeah.
And women now are getting involved in punditry. They're getting involved in coaching. How do you see that shaping just football as a whole, not just for the women's game, for men's, women's?
I think there's been a lot of women in football for some time. I think there's, behind the cameras, the producers, there's so many women involved, sponsorship, marketing. There's actually so many women that work within football.
Yeah.
And I think, again, like I mentioned, the career paths now are not just about playing and, being a coach or a pundit. Yeah. There's so many career opportunities for women and for young girls to aspire to within sport and within football. So, yeah, that's something, again, I'm really, really proud of, and really, like I said, I'll always go back to my niece. What do I want for her? What life do I want for her? What opportunities do I want for her? I want her to have every opportunity and equal opportunities to anybody else. So, we've come a long way, but equally, I'm not going to say we're there. We've still got a lot more to do.
What do you think does need to be done?
Again, like things like this, it's really important to have these conversations, to be able to talk openly about certain subjects. And again, I still think we can have better career opportunities, again, more funding, more facilities, more access. But I think if you knew me as a person and how I've been educated and the people who I've been mentored by, they will never tell me to settle, and they'll always tell me to demand more. So even when you probably think we'll do a lot, I'll be like, I want more, because I think that's the best word to say. I want more, and I'm not going to shy away from that.
Oh, glass ceiling, like breaking through, absolutely.
Yeah.
So again, obviously we're going to stick on the theme of women in sport and more towards the training and kind of a journey you might have had. I know just as a girl growing up, if someone told me to put on white jeans, this is a curveball by the way, when I was about to start my period, I'd have been like, even now, I'm not even saying as a young girl, even now I'd be like, absolutely not. And obviously they made the changes on the women's football kit to change it to blue shorts to accommodate that. What else can be done to take into account like women's menstrual cycles in sport? So obviously just changing shorts, that's it might seem minor, but I think that's actually quite a big thing.
I think the next question was just like you mentioned there about not wearing jeans. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it doesn't benefit your performance at all.
No, but like, why would you not wear white jeans?
Oh, because I'd be terrified that all of a sudden I was going to have a massive red patch when I'm running. And we know that sometimes the first, second day of your period. So TMI, you could be changing like every 3 hours. Now, if you're playing a 90-minute match and you're actually running around, exerting yourself, you're already having to compete with period pains, cramps, God knows where, your increase of body temperature. You're already going to be fatigued depending on what day you're on. Even the 5 days leading up to it, that fatigue that hits you the 5 days leading up in that cycle is immense. You want to kill a few people potentially, not kill, maybe hurt, maim. So yeah, I think white shorts, to be fair, would have been it's the last thing that I'm worrying about, but it's just one of the things to take into account.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I asked the question, because it's fantastic that we've made the change, but I think it's that education of why.
This is it.
So I think so for me, I'm really pleased that we made that change. I still think we can do more within sports to educate, and maybe not all sports have considered that just yet. But I think for me, I remember going out at major tournaments, I would ask the questions and my teammates would ask the question if they were on the period to say, we're walking out in a tunnel, am I all right? Have I leaked? And this is going out to like a World Cup, a European Championship, major competitions. And the thing that you want to be thinking about in the tunnel is actually my performance. Like, I want to win this game. I want to, make my family proud. I'm representing my country. But actually, I'm so nervous and paranoid about leaking and coming, But even that, like, even if I was on the pitch and my teammate had told me, what would I have done?
You can't. You just gotta get on with it.
I would have been humiliated. So, so that step's amazing. But I think the next big step that we need to do is to, educate, but educate in the right way. For me, there's not enough research, because I did a review recently into future women's football here in England, and we found that only 6% of research in sports and exercise science is conducted by women for women. So if there's only 6%, it's actually telling us that we're being trained as many men, or all the research is being done by men and for men, and actually doesn't really consider hormones, the menstrual cycle, like all those issues that you've just mentioned. It doesn't really talk about that. So for me, it's like brilliant that we've made those changes, but the next piece is that education and the conversations and normalising it and not feeling anxiety about talking about it. And I think that's really, really important. It's really weird. Even I think about it now, like, so majority of all of my career from the age of 8 until 31, I was like doing sport every single day, and obviously professional for a large period of that. But when I was at 31 and I retired, my body changed massively. So even my menstrual cycle, my hormones, my, body image and kind of, not my body image, but my body changed. And so I didn't have enough information about, hormones and the menstrual cycle or my body as a player. I've had a massive transition, and I'm sure there's so many women that go through so many transitions, whether it be having a baby or, there's so many transitions that women go through. But I don't even know enough about my body now I'm retired and what my body needs and the menstrual cycle, because it's changed. So I think these conversations, and I'm really passionate about this subject, but I'll be open and honest, I don't know enough.
Was it taboo when you were playing to discuss? Like, I know for me as a personal trainer, I know my clients' menstrual cycles, because I need to know when I can push them. I need to know when I can pull back. Was that ever taken into account when you were playing?
No.
Was it not?
I think it is now, because again, we're understanding that there's 4 phases to a menstrual cycle. We're understanding that in each phase, someone might be feeling different. They need to eat differently. They need more sleep. They need more recovery. They need to be doing more power stuff. They need to be doing more stretching stuff, more intensity stuff, So I think there's been a big shift in that. Again, there still needs to be more. Yeah. But I think when I played, no. It was like, you're on and do you want a hot water bottle?
Oh, God.
Or like...
I was just sweating already. Just
so it's... I think... And that's not a criticism of anyone in that time phase. I think it was just... We didn't talk about it. If we had recovery strategies in a swimming pool and you think,
it's the last thing you want.
Yeah, it's just, I want to go and do an ice bath, and I've just been training for an hour and a half. I've probably got to go and change, or, so I just think it's not for anyone's fault. But now we know we need to discuss more about it. But ultimately, it always falls back to research and how much are we doing, and also for a long time, because you could do research into a woman for I don't know, a week when they're on, but actually, what about the other 3 phases of the cycle? So you need to do research for a continued amount of time to get that average mean and what that looks like. So there's a lot more that we need to do.
And let's face it, all women are different on their cycles.
Yeah, no 2 periods are the same, no 2 women are the same. And yeah, we need to just figure it out.
And for young girls, that's going to be so beneficial, because I know we discussed growing up for me. Yeah, the last thing I wanted to do was get in a swimming pool when I was on. And I mean, some girls just didn't want to get in the swimming pool anyway. So they were just lucky enough. That could also be an excuse. But yeah, it's making sure, I think you're right, the education's there. So girls understand their body. I didn't understand my body growing up. I didn't have a clue. And it's only, I think, once I got into my 30s, when I really, even as a personal trainer, you don't get taught it, that I really delved deep, and I was like, oh, wow, this can really affect performance.
Yeah, and I think I've only noticed it actually since I've retired.
Yeah.
You mentioned there, like, I've struggled this week because I'm due on and I'm so tired. I'm like clumsy, I'm dropping things, I'm tired, I haven't really done. My mind is telling me to train. I need to train because it's part of who I am, and it helps me with my mental health. But my body is saying, you're tired, you're fatigued, and you need to listen to your body a little bit more. But again, everyone's different. Some people might need to train, and again, that's that education part, is what do you need as a human. But for me, it should always boil back to science. Yeah, we should always be led by science, and 6% isn't enough.
Oh, absolutely not. 6% for 100% of women, outrageous. So moving on to lessons in health and fitness. How's your perspective on health and fitness evolved over the years?
It's massively evolved, because I think growing up, mine was just to push to pretty much breaking point as an athlete. Yeah. But now, again, I've really, really changed, and I think it's been a really nice change. So when I retired, that period is quite difficult, because your mind is telling you and your body's telling you, keep training, keep pushing, but you're like, you've retired, chill out. You don't need to do this anymore. So actually that first kind of year about retirement is really tricky to say. You're not a professional athlete anymore, even though it's all you've ever known. Yeah. You don't have to do that. So that's hard. And now I'm in the phase of where actually listen to your body. What does your body need? And the main priority for me is my mental health. Mm-hmm. So what does my mental health need? With physical activity and with work and with work-life balance, like what does that all look like? And in the middle for me, it will always be my mental health. Yeah, you know, what is going to make me happy, what is going to make me a better person, and that will always include like physical activity. But it's not like I've got to go and do a marathon. Yeah, it's not like I've got to go and lift 60 kilograms or aim to push. It can be literally go for a brisk walk. It can be, it can be go for a run. Yeah, I signed up to an 8-miler randomly, a couple of weeks ago, but my mind needed that, and I felt my body was okay, so do it. But then this week I'm kind of like, it's more stretching, recovery, and what do I need? And I think that's been a massive evolution for me, because growing up as an athlete, all you've been told is go, push, 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 and you keep pushing that door, you keep pushing it, and that's quite an adjustment as well.
How was adapting between being a professional player and retiring from football? Because I don't know, I can only assume as a footballer, when you're playing professional, you've got people that are also telling you what to do, and we need you here at this time, and we need you at this training session, and we need you doing this. And now all of a sudden you've got free reign. That must be, how was that adaptation?
Well, I now work with players on that. Yeah. I work with players to prepare for that transition, because I think it's really lonely. I think it's really daunting. Mm-hmm. For many reasons. You mentioned the physical part, but mentally as well. You've always been part of a team. You're in a team. You effectively lose your job. So
that makes it sound awful.
It is. And also it's the greatest love. It's the greatest love loss you'll ever go through, and that's the thing to upset anybody else. But it is the greatest love that you'll lose. It's football, it's your heart, it's your soul, it's your passion, and to not be able to do it anymore in the manner that you've always been drummed and institutionalised to do, that's pretty tough. But I think the physical side of it, I got into running. And I was told to sign up to something to make sure that I had some structure in my life, because you could easily fall off the wagon and not have that structure.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned there, someone is always telling you where to be, what to do, what to eat. And even nutritionally, it's been really funny for me that now I really enjoy pasta. But all my footballing career, we had this like minging plain pasta that you're given at like 11 o'clock in the morning. It's the last thing that you want to eat. And you're just like, oh, this is awful. And, you know, I'm obviously very lucky to have those opportunities granted. But in terms of nutritional stuff, I've now fallen back in love with food, because that's been something for me that in the past, as an athlete, no sauces, no skin on things, no...
Really?
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's all very...
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, like your percentage of what you eat, like it's very much like a routine, and it's not for love, it's for fuel. Whereas now I enjoy like eating pasta, whereas like I said previously, seeing that plain minging pasta
just heartbreaking.
Was just ugh. So it's been really cool. So nutritionally it's been fun to try new foods, and the training side is a journey. I'll be open and honest about that. Like I said, got into running, did a marathon, and now I've come for that part of you don't need to do it anymore, which is quite nice.
So how do you find your motivation then?
That's a tough one.
Do we ever really have motivation? It's just turning up, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think now I'm probably more reliant on other people for that motivation. Okay. So I'll go to classes, especially when work's really busy and you know life's busy, and you know like I said, I might use other people to help me train because I know it's a priority for me. Like I have the same anxieties that other people. I don't want to go running. I don't want to, you know, probably go to the gym. I don't want to, but I know that it's so important. So sometimes you might need other people to motivate you. So I'll be open and honest about that as well.
And that's great, because I think it's quite easy for, I don't want to say non-athletes, that sounds horrible, just people that aren't playing professional sport to look at athletes and just assume that you'll just get up every day and you live for it and this is what I breathe it and I just want to jump out of bed and jump on a treadmill or
absolutely
go and throw
not.
some
No, I don't. I would much rather be sat watching Married at First Sight, Australia, chilling, eating an Easter egg. Trust me.
For the drama and the eggs.
Exactly. Like that's. But you know, it's not good for your mental health. It's not good for your physical health if you don't, you know, balance your life with some form of activity, whatever that might be. So you can still do maths and still eat the eggs, but I think there's a balance towards it anyway. That's how I look at it.
We have to laugh this early before obviously we came on camera, because you were like maths and I was like, cool, I'll do algebra, and I was just like, oh, it's a South London coming out, because I thought you said maths.
No,
because I pronounced THs as Fs, so I was like, oh, maths, Married at First Sight.
You pronounce it as it should be, maths, whereas I'm like maths.
Oh no, I'm with you on that. That's why I was just like, oh, I'm assuming she's saying maths, and we're on the same thing.
I'm loving maths again. That's a new part of like retired chilled life. Actually, to be fair, you watch a lot of movies and stuff like that when you're on camp. So yeah, but
you get to sit down and get stuck into stuff now.
So nice, and to be at home. To be at home, I've travelled since I've been 14. So yeah. And
that in itself must be so difficult as a child.
Yeah, I mean, I've travelled since I was 14 and I left home when I was 16.
Wow.
So one of the things I really wanted you to laugh was just to have a drawer to put like my underwear and socks in. Sounds really random. Yeah, I lived out of a bag since the age of 14. So I was really happy when I could do that. It sounds really like...
It doesn't. How did that feel all of a sudden getting... Because even that in itself is a huge transition. Now all of a sudden I'm settled.
I think that's the biggest word.
I can put stuff in a wardrobe.
Yeah, I feel settled. So there's obviously like some real big positives to and I also really want to shift the narrative of retirement, that it's like seen as a negative and that kind of like, oh, it's all over. But actually, if you prepare for it, you've got a lot of positives to come from it, and it can be really exciting, and you've got lots of new opportunities that you can explore that perhaps you couldn't have as an athlete.
Well, this is it, because it's only a it's only a retirement from the physical game, isn't it? Because now you've got this broad spectrum of what can I explore? How can I help future players? How can I explore this side of the game? Just having that open spectrum must be fantastic as well. Yeah,
and I just think as well, like maybe personally I was boxed and quite limited. You know, you want to give everything into your football, but there's also people only see that of you, whereas I'm now really going, no, I'm interested in that, I want to do that, or can I do that? Or someone said, what about this? And so that's really exciting. And I think sometimes you don't really get that opportunity. But look, I've had a wicked career. I don't regret anything. I've loved every moment, but I'm super excited about the next big stuff for me, or small stuff, whatever it might be. I'm excited.
You're living life like your niece, basically. She's
I know.
I don't have any barriers.
I went to Glastonbury, lived my best life. Honestly, it was wicked.
Did you stay there?
Yeah, it was wicked. Did the whole shebang last year. It was awesome. It was it's just things like that. Like I get to enjoy other parts now, and I got seen on TV. I was on
at Glastonbury.
Yeah, I was on
your best behaviour.
I was on the shoulders, and I was like, you're in that moment, and I forget that sometimes a couple of people might know me, and I was like absolutely giving it massive to Tom Grennan, because I said to him, I'm gonna come. I'm trying to get to the front and like wave at me, and to be fair, he did. He saw me out, sought me out. And so I was just giving it absolute massive, like then came down off the shoulders, looked at my phone, and they were like, was that you I just saw at Glastonbury on, like, giving it absolute massive? And I was like, oh no, I literally did get seen. So it was so good.
You just got to own it at that point. Yes, absolutely, that was me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doing the most, having the time of my life. Thank you very much.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Wait, what festivals are on the horizon now, though?
I didn't get Glasgow tickets this year, so I was devastated. But I'm going.
You didn't get Glasgow tickets?
No, because I do it the same way as everybody else. You've got to be patient, go in the queue. I had my 6 devices. My mates had their devices. We were good to go. We didn't get them, but it's fine. I'm going to the men's Euros, so I'll be pretty busy anyway. And my next concerts, I think I've got Pink, Becky Hill, and I'm sure I've got Texas. Oh my God, I love Charlene. She's so cool.
Wait, do we prefer Pink R&B Pink or Pink rock Pink? Because my teenage years, I'm still like, I need Pink from R&B Pink. That first album, I was like, oh.
I just appreciate Pink.
Just like her.
As an artist, amazing.
You saying Texas? I forgot all about them.
Honestly, Texas. I saw Texas at Glasgow, and Charlene started following me. Honestly, I was so made up, because like my sister's older, so I'd listened to Texas from a really young age, because my sister had been like, she's awesome, Texas are great. So I knew all this. So then when I went to Glasgow, I was loving it. And then she followed me back. I nearly fell off my chair. So I'm so excited to go and see him in concert. I'm a huge fan. It's
what you're saying. No, that's nostalgia at its finest as well, because you hear these songs and all of a sudden you get transported back to when you were a teenager. You were playing your 16-year-old game. You were playing your 20-year-old game. You're like, this is the dream.
Honestly, it's, yeah. So, yeah, I'm really bigging up retirement here, aren't I?
So, talking of retirement, future goals. So I'm going to finish up with just one question. What advice do you have for someone looking to make a positive change in their health and fitness?
Just show up. Just show up. I think like everyone thinks that a positive change has to be like something humongous.
Yeah.
And, yourself, I'm sure you probably say to your client, or maybe, I don't know, maybe you can correct me, but I think the smaller steps are the most important. They're the steps that you can build on from there. And I think, like I said, everyone thinks that it has to be about doing a 26 miler or lifting 100 kilograms, but actually for me it's the small stuff that then gives you confidence. And we've already known that sometimes gyms can be intimidating spaces, or fitness can be highly intimidating. So for me, I would say that be proud of the small steps, be proud of the showing up and the attempt and application. Don't be too concerned with, I think it's the showing up and the starting is for me is the biggest thing.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for all the wisdom and the music knowledge.
Thanks for being an awesome host, and loving the energy, and thank you for your time.